good. Raise this one up. And Ben is visiting New Orleans, not his first time, so he's smart enough to know to get gumbo and
not just any gumbo.
to get it from a local.
Gumbo from Michael Dardant, or as we say in Texas, Michael Dardant. Dardant.
That is how you pronounce it in Texas. That is exactly correct.
Oh man, speaking of mispronunciations.
Yeah, Jackson's tough. That's a tough one.
Oh, well, absolutely. No one can say that one. My last name and the room number is 515.
Now, everyone watching will be able to go back in time and steal your Wi-Fi.
There you go. That's right. I'm telling you, this is the best gumbo.
Yeah. And I didn't put any spices because I wanted, I don't know how you were on, sometimes I'll doubt. She actually doesn't put there's actually no spice added. If it tastes spicy, that's all coming from the sausage.
Oh, wow.
So that is Lafayette Best Stop sausage. We go 2 hours to get that sausage. There is nowhere near here that we can find the type of sausage. She doesn't make gumbo without that sausage.
Wow.
Tonight on the International Brotherhood of Magicians Facebook channel, my guest, the one and only Ben Jackson, who is an outstanding magician. I hate that he's hearing me say this, but he really is. Just to give you a reference point, he doesn't even realize how much he motivated me because he went on the competition scene, and we're going to talk about that.
Oh, man.
And after seeing his act, I almost gave up competitions because I didn't think I could ever be as refined and practiced. I just didn't think that of myself. I think of myself as very lazy. And when I saw your act, and that was I think my first year of competing at that level, and I believe you won that year. I think you took the whole thing, if I'm not mistaken. At the IBM.
IBM.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I remember sitting back going, I don't know that I'm ever going to be that refined. You could tell that you could do that act in your sleep.
Oh, man.
Award-winning magician, outstanding corporate magician. The reason I get to have him here in New Orleans is because he's working a gig here. We need to pre-record this because he's got to drive back to Texas after. Little history about yourself and your pursuit of magic. And then I'm going to hit you with the hard questions.
Okay,
like your favorite color.
Well, first of all, Mike, very flattering. The interview is all downhill from here, so that's really very generous and very sweet, and much admiration to you as well. I really admire your performance chops, your showmanship, and how really you make your program so authentically you. So it's really awesome. But long story short, most magi, I was shown magic at a younger age, about 8 years old, visiting some family friends in Kansas, and my dad's good buddy is a magic enthusiast. And after Thanksgiving Day dinner, we all gathered around the dining room table. He showed me some magic, blew my mind, got me really excited. But I probably didn't really start practicing every day till I was about 15 years old. Okay. And during that time, of course, I got a Marshall Brodeen magic kit, and then when I was 13 years old, I went to the Magic Island, which is now a venue that first opened up its headquarters in Newport Beach, California, and then one of their other major operations was in Houston, Texas. Okay, Houston. And it started off as a private club, much like the Castle is, and they were in operation since 1983 up until 2008, but it really was a magic haven in Houston, and Egyptian themed, and I remember spending some time with the entertainment director, a guy named Scott Hollingsworth at the time. I was 13 years old. My mom and dad brought me there for my birthday. I was really excited just to spend some time with him, and one of the things he really he taught me very quickly, he's like, man, I think I showed him a little trick backstage, like a trick deck of cards or something. He's like, Ben, it's nice, but in all sincerity, if you want to take the craft seriously, I'd recommend you put that down. I'd recommend you pick this up. And he gave me, he recommended Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic, The Royal Road to Card Magic, and just really instilled in me to be a student of the art. And so that really, and started practicing every day. I was 15, and then I went to Texas A&M University. I got my degree in biomedical science. Chemistry minor, business minor, makes sense to do magic. Totally makes sense. It's a natural transition. And then ever since I graduated from school, which was in 2009, I've made my living doing magic. And that's the long story short.
So from chemistry to alchemy.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Mike. That's right. That's
And since we're doing a segment for the IBM, just want to point out again, IBM winner.
Woo!
2000. Competition-wise, what were your goals and why did you pursue? Because it is a weird thing, as we know, to get attention in the magic world and go after that type of pursuit.
I think for me, there was really kind of two things. I mean, certainly I wanted to, as I was considering performing professionally, any type of credential that may help differentiate myself when people were considering, oh, maybe we're looking to hire a magician for an event. Is there anything I can do to separate myself from the rest of the pack? And one of those things was certainly competition. So there was a marketing angle to it. I thought, well, maybe if I win some awards, that might help. But secondly, I think my good friend and near dear mentor, a guy named Greg Lancaster, who lives in College Station, Texas. Greg has been a really, really great mentor to me, and whenever I was going to school, we would spend a lot of Thursday nights at his home. His wife Eva would cook us dinner, and as opposed to me, going out to the bar, to the club, I would go to Greg's house and read magic books and hang out with him. And so, and Greg really helped form and shape my act. Yeah, as a nerd, that's fantastic. He would really help and shape and form my act, and told me so much about, Ben, from because he's been in magic for 40 years. He's like, Ben, I feel like if you're going to go into the competition circuit, I want to give you some guidance, if I may. One thing I think it's so important is that you stand out in front of that table. You really command the presence of the room. I think a lot of magicians may use that table as a crutch to maybe that's their security blanket. You need to get out in front of that table. Try to work off your body, and hit them hard, hit them fast. Really showcase a lot of skill, and so we really kind of laid the groundwork, the foundation for, if I were you, I would do these things. And when people when Layman talked to me about, I see you won some magic awards. What's a magic competition like? I go, well, it's kind of like figure skating. It's like a figure skating contest in the sense of you have X amount of minutes to do whatever routine that you want, and you're graded on originality and technique and showmanship and all these things. And usually sometimes there's an international judging panel, right? And that's what it is. So I found nothing but growth in the wins and the losses, to say, well, how can I be better? How can I improve? And how can it shape and mold my current work that I do?
It's so funny that you reference ice skating because I've done the exact same thing.
No!
But I've said that it needs to be more like ice skating, meaning that the difference between like ice skating in the Olympics and some of the other sports is when someone crosses the finish line. It's obvious who the winner is.
Right.
When you take figure skating and you're taking like a Brian Bartano versus somebody who's dressed completely different music, completely different moves, how do you even compare? And I love the fact that they get into the artisticness about it and the originality. Mm-hmm. And I've said for the longest time that of course you need an overall winner and a Grand Prix, but the first place, second place, like especially in situations when you're comparing a dove act to a card act, you can't give a first and second. It just doesn't make any sense. Right. But you can give most original, best use of color. So we've been talking a lot about Fool Us, and we're kind of in the same position because about 5 years ago we both sent a video in, either wasn't the right timing, wasn't the right act, or whatever, then went back to the drawing board, then kind of dropped the ball because it's a difficult process trying to think of what would fool them. And we talked a lot about this yesterday because I'm working on an act, Ben's trying to think of what he wants to do. So if it's on the wire and you had to perform today, you wake up in Vegas, you woke up, you're like, I thought I was in New Orleans. You're in Vegas and you realize, oh, I have to do the show tonight. Mm-hmm. So now, forget about fooling them because chances are you're not going to have something.
Right.
What do you do? It's like that in that movie Speed. What do you do? What do you do? You have to perform for Penn Teller tonight. What do you choose to do?
Yeah. Well, man, I'm torn between two things.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm not alone in this split decision of approach.
Right.
From what we've gathered and what we've discussed, really I see that there's two different approaches to Fool Us. Either approach number one is that you go in with a piece of magic that's well polished, well rehearsed, and they have all the bits of business, all the lines, and it's a great piece of theater and showmanship, and it showcases your personality, but it's not going to fool them. It's just a great 5-6 minutes bit of business. It's great for TV, but it's not necessarily what Penn and Teller want, as they've expressed from interviews and podcasts, that they're looking for that. Give us that one punch, give us that one mental blow, and a singular moment. Now, if I were to do the show tonight, the two options I'd be weighing between would be, number one, how I've opened up my show for the past 15 years, which is a drink production from Tom Peterson called Lemonade Racket. I dress up a little bit differently. And this really fast and furious 3-fly routine, which is just bubblegum for the eyes, a lot of self-deprecating humor, looks great for television. Would it fool them? No, but it would give me all the confidence in the world to stand on my own 2 feet and stare down like the barrel of a gun. Be like, okay, I can do this what I've been thinking. And so
plus the confidence of the fact that he didn't mention the drink is actually a Long Island iced tea, about 80% liquor, so that would give you a lot of confidence in that situation.
That's right. And only one drink before the show, just to take the edge off. So that's good. That's right.
But you fooled the heck out of me one time at the end of a convention. You probably don't remember. You were playing the piano at first, because Ben is actually a huge pianist. That's how you say the word, actually.
That's right.
And very talented in that respect. And as I'm enjoying that, you went into, I believe there was a card effect, but also it involved change in your pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay,
it was just us sitting there. You did it just for me, and I think you explained it after, and I didn't even want you to, because I was just like, I have no idea.
Oh,
I'm
man.
like, what, so, but I don't know if that one would work. One of the things I wanted to make sure that people know about when they go to Texas or go to Dallas is that they can see
Houston.
your show. You don't have to, you can hire Ben to do your own show, but you can actually go see a show that's open to the public. Mm-hmm. What did I say?
Dallas.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Well,
it's a big state.
Okay, good. But I don't know if, Houston people aren't like, Dallas? What?
Oh, well, there's always that.
I mean, because, when you're, if I'm here in New Orleans and someone says, like, what are you, from Chalmette? I'd be like, excuse me?
Excuse me?
No.
That's right.
So, yeah, sorry. But you were in Dallas at some point, no?
Never.
So it's always, I always get those confused for some reason.
You're not alone. Trig Watson lives in Dallas, or used to live in Dallas.
Yeah, Trig, well, now he's in California. He lived. So in Houston at the
Four Seasons
Hotel, an hour-and-a-half show that is basically a master manipulator, intimate, is only 60 seats?
Only 60 seats.
Intimate seating to see a sleight of hand artist, and that is the last weekend of every month.
That's right.
So definitely, if you happen to be in Houston, the only reason you should be in Houston is because you happen to be there. So if you happen to be there, you need something cool to do, and that's what you should do, is go to the Four Seasons, check out Ben and Fast. So that has been going on since before the pandemic.
Man, yeah. So the name of the show is Magic, Music, and Mayhem. It's been happening since 2016. January 2016 is when we started doing the show every month, consistently, every month. And when I say we, I say me and my wife. Now, my wife, Julie, she's my girl Friday, she's my right-hand woman, and without her, there is no program. So Julie is there to meet and greet our guests, to give seat assignments, to be the front of house, so to speak, and then we have our guests walk into the space, and then it's just me and 60 of my closest friends, and we have the time of our lives. So it gets... and then also it's a great showcase for outside work. When people come, maybe they're there for date night, maybe they came because it was a gift given to someone else and we're here to see a show, but at the very end of the show, like I told you, I always like to plug myself to tell people, hey, I'm not just the magician who performs at the Four Seasons. I could be of service to your organization outside these walls.
Yeah, you have to spell it out for them.
You really do.
Humans are generally dumb. Yeah. So they might think, the hotel trained him on how to do it. Like, they don't know.
They don't know.
You got to tell them. And if they happen to be in Houston, then most likely they're going to happen to be somewhere else. And they probably have an event that needs a magician. As soon as they realize, he doesn't work for the hotel.
Yeah.
But what's up your sleeve, meaning what do you bring to the table? What separates you from other performers? So what is something up your sleeve?
Ooh. Man. Okay.
The Ben Jackson effect.
I'm telling you. The way I address my audience. Two things. number one, this was a tip given to me by Dennis Watkins out in Chicago. Dennis does a magic show at the Palmer House Hotel. And one tip he gave me was, he said, Ben, you should be out front meeting and greeting your guests as they walk into the space. And when you do that, it builds so much rapport with the crowd initially, because they aren't expecting that. They always have the preconceived notion that the star of the show doesn't come out until the curtain parts and the music starts, and now out comes the performer. Right. But when you're out there meeting, greeting people, it gives you a real sense of, hey, humanity. I'm just a guy. I'm so thankful for you. And I think the expression of thankfulness, appreciation for the audience goes so far. Because, people have to understand, these people, especially those who are coming to pay good money to see your program, what did they do? They made the babysitter arrangements, they got dressed up, they fought downtown traffic, they showed up to your show on time, and they're here. This could be a really special night for them. This could be like, oh my, we haven't been on a date in years. This is like our first date night out, or whatever that may be. And I feel like for me, something on my sleeve is that the fire and the energy I bring to every show, knowing that, just knowing the kind of the weight of responsibility that you owe it to these people to give it your absolute best. Don't phone it in. Don't just go, oh, whatever, I'll do something half-hearted, and that's no good. I will never let that be a standard. And the way that I address my audience is that I say, hey, team. I say team all the time. And it just builds like this, what did he just say? Hey team. As though I want to create this environment, this buzz that's infectious, where we're all in this kind of fun, space together, and I'm just the facilitator of the fun. And I feel like that's something where it's not just about, as Jamie and Swiss would say, I have a red ball and a green ball, or a red ball changed to a green ball, worship me, or John Carney, he said, people are more sympathetic to humans than they are to gods. And I feel like having that level of humanity, that humbleness, that meekness, but wanting to encourage interactions amongst the guests by addressing them in a positive way, I think that just goes a long way. And some of my favorite performers are, guys like yourself, but people who have great chops and are really funny, but also very down to earth, like a Chad Long or a Bill Malone or a Williamson or whatever. They're so full of energy, but then they're blowing your mind and they're making you laugh, and you just can't help but smile. Probably the biggest compliment I think any performer can get, at least one of my chief aims, is that I want someone after the show to say, I could grab a drink with that guy. He could be my next door neighbor, and having that friendship and kinship built over the 90 minutes. That's always a goal. But I think that's the secret sauce, man, is respecting your audience, loving them there, and being as gracious as you possibly can.